Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back your lovely faces to a brand new video here on the channel. Yes, we are in fact talking about Mr. Dan Wootton today again because, well, if you can cast your minds back to 2023, we had a whole host of videos covering the expose and the investigation from the Byline Times into Dan Wootton because Dan Wootton did a lot of seedy, horrible things. And one of those things that he did, he was using two different names, Martin Branning and Maria Joseph, to catfish people into sending him explicit photographs, videos, and other items. Well, he came out last year, he's like, Scotland police, the London police, they've investigated me and everything is fine. They're not going further. Well, they may not be going further, but Danny boy, it's gone to court. So as you can see by here, Dan Wootton tricked a colleague into sending intimate pictures, the court told. So a former colleague of Dan Wootton was tricked by the journalist and broadcaster into sending intimate pictures and an explicit video of himself, according to a case lodged at the High Court. A hearing on Tuesday, the 8th of April, yesterday, heard that Mr. Wootton pretended to be a woman, using the name Maria Joseph, in an online message with a man who has brought this case who can't be named. In written submissions, the individual's barrister, Justin Levinson, told the court that Mr. Wootton sent the man partially and explicit photographs of a woman, as well as a video of a woman and a man partaking in extracurricular activities, we'll say that, in 2010. Now with this, if you can cast your minds back, you know, this is what we were doing, this is what we were covering. GB News star Dan Wootton unmasked in cash for images catfishing scandal. And with this, if we actually just, do the find button and we put in Marie, you'll see that it comes up 3 times. And this is actually, in fact, a 4th victim. So this one by here now, this court case is actually the 4th victim of all of this stuff. And we covered it on the channel. We had people who were fans of Mr. Wootton and who believed every single word that came out of Wootton's mouth. They tried coming after me and my fellow friends because, again, we were reporting on this and we were talking about this. And as you can see, there was such a strong investigation by the Byline Times. Because by here, we got this one by here. He was a serial bully. We got this one, Dan Wootton and Martin Branning, the proof where, in fact, the first paragraph actually has Maria Joseph in it. But then we had this one as well, GB News axes Dan Wootton after Foxstorm and Catfish scandal, which we reported on that, and I had people coming out of the woodwork defending Wootton and saying he hasn't been fired, he hasn't been sacked, when in fact he did because we actually spoke with GB News. But going back to the article, which is actually from yesterday, as you can see, Mr. Levinson said that the man had been deceived by Mr. Wootton into believing he had been exchanging messages with the woman in the images. The hearing heard that as a result, the man thought he was talking to a woman who was interested in a relationship, and that as a result, he sent intimate photographs and a video of himself carrying out an act. Mr. Levinson told the court that Mr. Wootton had tricked the claimant into providing these images. The man subsequently became aware that Maria Joseph did not exist, and that he had in fact sent the images to Mr. Wootton. The man has now been bringing a claim against the former son and GB News journalist, alleging he had been a victim of obtaining these images by deceit, and that has resulted in him suffering injury, including psychiatric injury. Now with all of this, as we were saying about the brought claim against the former son, this man, if I actually believe, he actually worked for one of the papers that Dan Wootton was working with at the time. So he had his own people around the office. And as you can see by there, the case is at an early stage and Mr. Wootton has not yet filed a defence to the claim. At Tuesday's hearing, Mr. Wootton asked the court to allow the man to be named publicly, but the judge was like, no, we're not going to. Mr. Wootton's barrister Samuel Rowe argued that when a court order was made earlier this year granting the man to be anonymous, Mr. Wootton was not given sufficient notice to be able to challenge it in court. This was rejected by Judge Roger Easterman. Mr. Rowe also argued that if the court had been told some relevant information, it would have been justified in not granting the order. Mr. Rowe said these matters include the fact that Mr. Wootton had been investigated by the Metropolitan Police and Police Scotland in connection with the allegations that he used fake online identities to obtain images without consent, and that both forces had concluded that no further action would be taken and ended their investigations. Well, Mr. Rowe, for that, as you are Mr. Wootton's lawyer, you rightfully know that those investigations were not including this man, was not including this fourth victim. The ones that the Scotland Yard and the London police were investigating were in fact the ones where these people who were adult escorts, and they were male. Wootton would hire them, send these 2 or 3, however many he hired. Now remember, this is the story in the investigation that we had. He would send these men round to someone else's house, and they would secretly film them having intimate relations with a known man. And this man was known to Wootton because Wootton worked with that person. Those are the ones that they were being looked into because, again, Dan Wootton's ex-boyfriend, he found a hard drive full of all this stuff. So it's interesting to see that the judge is like, oh no. You can't give me anything that will grant me to say that this man's name should be out there because of what Wootton did. But as you can see by here, though, that Mr. Levinson, he told the court that as far as he was aware, those investigations did not relate to the claimant's complaint, but to similar ones, like we were just talking about. The judge again said those issues were no reason for lifting it. In addition, Mr. Rowe argued that granting this offended the principle of open justice. Which, that last part by there, this one really grinds my gears. Because, it's saying, oh, you've done this, it offends the principle of open justice. Dan Wootton tried having the people who did the investigating on him in Byline Times and other people, he tried to have them silenced. Where is the principle of open justice there for people looking into someone? They didn't want it then. This is why Mr. Wootton is one of the biggest two-faced just hypocrites on this planet. He is the scum of the scum when it comes to journalistic integrity, because he has none. And seeing that he now wants, well, if this person's coming against me, the people should know his name. Do you want to know the reason why he wants his name to be public? Because the people who still follow Wootton and actually believe his views and all this kind of stuff, he would send them after this person. That's exactly what would happen. And again, I'm only talking about that because I know firsthand the people who came after me when I was reporting on it. There was myself, there was Stevie, there was Les, and there was a whole host of other people. Andy from Popcorn Planet, Tug, that umbrella guy. The people who were talking about this and doing these videos, we had people who were supporting him. How dare you do this? You don't know what's going on. And they tried getting my videos copyright struck and all that. It didn't work because, again, just mass flagging. When I spoke with YouTube, told them exactly what was going on, showed them everything that I had, and they were like, no, you're good. So it just goes to show that when you see things like this now, and you know exactly how someone like Mr. Wootton is going to respond, you take the ball right out of their hands. They haven't got anything else to play with. Figuratively speaking. But as you can see by here, though, at the end, the judge rejected the argument and said there was clear evidence of potential adverse and seriously adverse effects on the claimant if the claimant's name being in the public domain in this case, which is exactly what we're just talking about. But going back to the other stories on GB News, because this is what it's all over. By here, this is the one, the fourth victim, like we were saying. Fourth victim, another junior colleague at The Sun and all this, was contacted on Facebook by Wootton in 2009 posing as a blonde called Maria Joseph. They exchanged flirty messages. They swapped images of an unconnected female face from reality TV in return for images of the colleague, who was heterosexual and married by today. The fourth victim, I received a friend request from a girl called Maria Joseph. Immediately, she was very flirty, and having just come out of a messy breakup, I didn't have my wits about me as much as I should. Straight away, though, this by here just shows you the type of person that Dan Wootton is as well. This gentleman came out of a messy breakup. He didn't have his wits about him or anything else. He was probably just looking for a bit of closeness. And it wouldn't surprise me if this person spoke with Wootton in work and he was like, yeah, this has happened. I just want to see someone just be nice to me and everything else. And then this happened. Because again, Wootton probably spoke to him, found out little bits and bobs about what's going on. You know what, I'll start doing this. I'll be flirty. But then it says obviously that she soon started to send me semi-pictures and swapped email and phone. The number was a New Zealand phone number, as she said she'd just come back from a year over there. As more pictures came through, she started to request them from me, which I duly obliged. Fortunately, I kept my face out of them. Then she started to send one she's already sent, which she brushed off with obviously I'm talking to a few guys at the same time. At this point, I'm being super careful and start to snoop further into her profile. Catfishing wasn't really a known thing back then, but I knew something was up. We had 5 friends in common, Dan plus 4 others. When I clicked the others, the only common link was Dan. Then a video came through of her being this with a man. However, I recognised him as someone from a reality TV show as he's a friend of a friend. This made me realise I knew the identity of the girl and that it could not be legitimate. So with this, the New Zealand number, the sole common denominator being Dan Wootton, I was sure it was him. So I messaged Mariah to say, hi Dan, interesting way to get pics. The next day, the profile was gone. I was embarrassed that I had not been vigilant. It makes my blood run cold as to how vulnerable I had made myself. I felt stupid. Now, obviously, this is the person who has brought the case to the High Courts. It is this gentleman right by here. And it's very interesting that, you know, Wootton's going around. I'm sorry for this. I should never got involved in the Johnny Depp situation. She lied to me. I fell for her lies. Blah, blah, blah. But we all know that Dan Wootton did not fall for her lies. All he saw was, this is it. I can put something out now and I can sell millions of papers. Johnny Depp is a wife this. That's what he did. But then obviously in the last year or so, due to having been, what was the word he used again? Oh, having been in the midst of my own with an ex who had done horrible things to me, I wish I stayed out of it. I wish I could say sorry. Instead of saying, I wish I could be sorry, just say you're sorry. Do a public apology. Do a video. I'm sorry about this. This is to Johnny Depp. I'm really sorry. I never should have done this. I should never have got involved. And I should never have said I went to J.K. Rowling, myself and with her, with Amber, to try and tell J.K. what kind of man he was. But Dan Wootton didn't know what type of man Johnny Depp was, because all he had was this blonde woman come up to him or say to him, oh, yes, he's done these horrible things to me, which then in court proved that she was in fact lying. And again, people probably bring up the fact, well, Dan Wootton won the court case in London against him. Well, he did. That's because, again, the judge was like, oh, it was partially true. If we start stopping this now, we're going to censor the press. Which is basically what they're doing this day and age now anyway. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up a minute. Future Dan here. As I was just editing this video, something popped into my mind. So, with Dan Wootton now saying about, I wish I never did it, I wish I never got involved, I should never have said this, I should never have said that, because I fell for her lies, does that mean the court case is now moot and should just be not allowed because he's actually said that he lied with that article? Yes, in my eyes, because he said he lied. He believed her lies. So straight away with that, you've got all these AH followers. Well, she won the London case. Actually, no, he's come out and admitted that he lied. Just food for thought. Food for thought. Let's go back to the video. But it's interesting to see that all of this is now coming out into the open again, 2 years after we actually started looking into this. And with this court case, I will be keeping a very close eye on it, obviously. A very close eye. And seeing that, you know, Dan Wootton wants this person's name out there, we all know why. Because he just wants to send the people who support him still after this person. That's what he wants to do. And that is all, because he knows he has a big following, which still blows my mind. that this guy, even though everything that's come out about him has been proved true. Yeah, it's mind-blowing, folks. It really is. But guys, let us know what you think about this down below. If you are new to the channel, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you soon.